Welcome to the Weaponized Marriage Podcast in my sexy voice.
Yeah. You pack a day smoker voice.
Yeah. Big smoker.
Yeah. So Lily brought home the plague last week. She had the fever, threw up. She was cranky, had us up all night. And then, of course, now we're sick.
Yeah. So this podcast is not going to have a framework, which we both love frameworks, but we're not going to stick to one today. We're going to make it organic, raw, and real.
There's no framework, no plan, and neither of us feel great. So,
but we're here.
Here we go.
Showing up.
Okay, so lead it off.
Well, why don't you give us an update on your recovery? Start off. Kick it off.
Okay, well, if you've been listening, then you know that 5 weeks ago today, actually, I dislocated my ankle and snapped my fibula. And then 30 days ago yesterday, I had a surgery on my ankle. It's called an ORIF, open reduction internal fixation. So they have to cinch the tibia and fibula together.
Let's not get too detailed here.
Well, anyways.
Some people will like that.
Well,
I guess maybe.
So what? So they had to cinch the tibia and fibula together so that they would heal. And then I had my ligament reattached on the inside of my ankle. And then fortunately, they didn't have to put any rods or anything to let the fibula heal. So it's been 30 days.
What have you learned or taken away from it?
What have I learned? Well, where I'm at today is that I think I'm ahead of schedule according to what my expectations were put in front of me in the beginning and also what my physical therapist said this week. So I feel good about that because I've been doing a lot of stuff to make sure that I get better as quickly as possible. Because I'm already walking on it.
You're driving?
Already driving, walking upstairs.
You went to the gym the day they took the cast off?
Yeah, I've been going to the gym last 3 weeks. It's been all upper body shit. So... yeah, and I just feel like my recovery is still not great. I still don't have...
Well, you're also sick, so that's...
yeah, that didn't help. But overall, it's going good. Yeah, so I feel good. I feel like it's coming along. Hopefully, I'll be able to get back to like a decent pre-surgery or pre-injury status with the ankle. I don't know.
All right, beyond injury, give me an emotional update.
You want an emotional update?
Yeah.
I think coming right out of it, I think I was in a pretty good place, shockingly, because we had a lot of things in place, safeguards, you could call them. Like, I have a doctor in the office that was able to fill in for me in my absence. My team is all trained to be able to run the office without me there. And Kendra helps me run the businesses, so she had a very flexible schedule, so she was able to fill in the gaps.
Be an amazing Uber driver.
Yeah, be able to like make food for me and make sure yell at me to elevate my leg and take me places I need to go, which I didn't really go many places for a month, but
until last week. Then you needed rides.
Yeah, but I'm driving now, so
and now you're good.
Yeah, so I think there was some ups and downs during the month, but overall, I don't think there'll be any more downs as long as I don't have setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, so you didn't answer the question.
Yeah, I did. How do I feel? What's my emotional state? I said my emotional state is good.
That's not an emotion. Good is not an emotion.
Well, I mean, it's not like I'm happy. I'm not happy because of. I'm satisfied with my recovery so far. I'm glad that it's going well. I don't have any negative emotion around the incident or the recovery or what's happening. I think that, like I said from the beginning, I think it's all happening to me, for me, I should say, not to me. So I'm not just like toughing it out till it's over. I'm learning from the experience and taking advantage of this time where I'm not like working in the practice all week. So I can actually work on my business, be at home with Lily, be here with you more. And then just have more time to like actually step back and look at what I want and start to make those strategic moves and decisions based on the time I have right now and not waste it.
Yeah. I think you've been a really good patient in terms of
Oh yeah.
yeah, you have.
Thanks.
I also think that like a huge thing is that like it's a gift, which we talked about a little bit before, I think, about like to be able to step back as an observer. Like, because there's so few times I feel like in your life where you're forced. I dislike that word forced so much, but like you were legit like sat on your ass so that you didn't have a choice. So you had to look at things from an outside perspective that most likely, like even some of the stuff I've seen like a big opportunity for us to see a little bit more about how like we want to design our family life and stuff like that. If I took to you probably like and wanted to talk to you about, I don't know how I would really bring those things up, but now where you've observed them and you can make your own decision about how you want to rework some things, myself included. I think it's given you a lot of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel about it 30 days later?
Like I just said, I think one of the things is that like it's been coming up a lot is that like, and I speak for myself, but I think that there's a lot of women I know that I think will relate to this, is that naturally, like the feminine is much more like when you're in your feminine, it's very natural to be a caretaker. I mean, I grew up with a family of very devout caretakers, and the dark side of caretaking, I think, is it's much easier for women typically to give than receive. And this is probably just my own self talking, but like I said, I think other women will be able to relate to this. And from the time it started, one of the things I was really conscious about was making sure that knowing I was going to have additional responsibilities, where could I squeeze time in for myself? And I kind of shy away from the term self-care because it's not really how I
treat yourself.
Yeah, this is definitely not treating myself. It was more making sure I prioritized myself. And it was definitely not like I was definitely off my routine. I've definitely been emotionally like I've had to fit different pockets of time where I'm like, oh, you can sit down and you can feel for 20 minutes without an interruption. It's not, I've definitely not had a luxurious schedule in the last couple of weeks, that's for sure. But I think that I've made a conscious effort when this happened to really make sure that, like, even though I'm going to be giving more to you, to make sure that I prioritize some of the basic things I know need to happen for myself to be in a good state of mind.
So can I ask you something? And I think that I already know the answer, but do you think there's a lot of marriages that run into this problem where the wife specifically has like paid attention to the kids and then the husband's need,
oh my God, yeah,
and then they've completely deprioritized themselves.
Yeah.
And then what happens is they build resentment, and then they build resentment towards the husband, they build resentment towards the kids, they build resentment towards themselves. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, my wife is like disconnected. Like I can't connect with her intimately. And she's just like,
she doesn't like to be with me. She doesn't like to hang out with me. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Because one of the things I learned a long time ago, but really put it into action after, really understanding how important it was to encourage you and to put you in positions and give you opportunity and actually like pay for things for you to be able to like have your alone time and then be able to like fill your cup, right? For you, it's like riding horses or like I paid for a yoga retreat that you did once and like make sure that like I'm supportive of like creative endeavors you want to do, whether it's like starting your business or your podcast or just being able to like, because I think it's really easy for me to like just focus on like, this is what I have to do because this is how we produce and make money and this is, what we need to do for our life. But from the man's perspective, like it's really easy to forget like, oh, I actually have to like encourage my wife to take care of herself. Like, go get your nails done, I'll pay for it. Or like, go out with your friend and I'll look after Lily. Like that kind of shit.
Yeah, I think that's where I was going with this, is that like as I think women tend to be able to be more comfortable in the giving role than the receiving role. And this is something I'm working through and myself a lot lately, is just like, can I receive? Like, can I receive without guilt, without an expectation attached? Can I, or an expectation of return? I think that's a muscle like anything. It has to be worked, right, to get stronger. And I think there are a ton of marriages in relationships. Man, I've had a couple different conversations this week that have like, they've kind of run the gamut of like, I don't know what has happened. And I don't want to say in terms of their marriage, like, you know, like their relationship. Some of them aren't married. Okay. One of them specifically isn't even married, but just really being like, oh, I can't, the way that you used to say it, like, I can't feel you, or like, I feel emotionally distant or emotionally disconnected from a person. And one of the things that I'm working through, even with like my relationship with my mom, who's aging, and I'm having to step more into the parenting role with her, is just like accepting someone like where they're at. And I think that's been a huge thing. But at the same time, is that when it comes to marriage, I think that there's a difference between accepting and prioritizing.
Yeah, but don't get too far off what I asked you. I want you to talk about what changed for you when I actually like started to invest in your ability to take care of yourself and to have like your own space and your own.
Because
I think this is really relevant, because I think it's really easy as like for guys, like if you're having disconnection issues with your wife, like a really easy thing to do would be like, go pay for her to go like do something she loves, or like set up an opportunity where you're taking care of the kids and be like, hey, this is your night. Like, you go do you. Like, because I think that when you're in default mode, it's really easy to forget how important that would be. So like when I was giving you ways to do that, like what changed for you?
Well, at first I have to say it felt really uncomfortable for me to be able to receive it. Right. Wow. Like, because that was like, 10, more than that. I would say 12. That wasn't until probably 12 years into our marriage where it was like, you started to have this aha where you're like, oh, maybe I should like offer to pay for her nails, or tell her to like, more for me, it was like, give me time, especially after I had Lily. It was like, can you give me time? Can you give me time to be alone? Can I give you time to be quiet? For me, it was really, the horse thing was a huge thing. I think and it's funny when that first started happening, and I told you that I had this opportunity to like lease a horse. I remember telling you about it, and like, I was actually shocked at your response, because you were like, yeah, you can do that. And I like, didn't even have to explain it. I didn't have to sell you on it. And it was like, I think that one of the patterns in our marriage prior was that I always felt like I had to convince you. Like I almost had to like present and sell it to you, because that's kind of like how I felt like I did everything, right? Everything was a sale. I had to like, it wasn't just like an ask. Hey, can I do this?
Okay, but how much do you struggle with asking?
Well, again, this is like I said, what's the ask and you shall.
So I'm saying, I think that there's a lot of women that struggle with asking.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm trying to get it.
Yeah. So I just think
I'm struggling trying to get there.
Okay, so for guys, I think it would be, I don't know, if you're looking for some to shake it up, or like you're stuck, or you're not connecting, you're having intimacy issues, like that could be a really simple.
Okay, I know what I want to say.
Okay, well, sorry. I just say that could be a really simple solution of just like, give your wife opportunities to do something that she hasn't been doing for herself. Right. Even if she's, even if she's resistant to it.
I was going to say, that was the other side of it. It's like, there might be, just like I was saying, there might be resistance because it's something different. It's like, hey, like if you wear your hair the same way for 20 years and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm going to try something different. At first, when you walk by the mirror, when you try this new hairstyle or whatever, you are like, whoa, what is happening? So the same thing, like I felt the same thing when all of a sudden you started like being like, hey, can I give you the time like to do this? Do you want to like do this consistently? Can I pay for this for you? Can I remember the yoga retreat's a really good example.
Or don't even ask, just do it.
Yeah. But the example, the yoga retreat's a really good example because what happened with that yoga retreat, that was 2023, right? And you had asked me for my birthday what I wanted, right? Do you remember this?
Vaguely.
Okay. So my birthday's in July. This retreat was going to be in November, but like obviously they're selling it pre-November. And so you asked me, you're like, hey, like what could I get you for your birthday? And typically I'm like very like, I want an experience, right? But I half jokingly, but I wasn't joking, said, I want to go on a vacation all by myself. And you were like, that's kind of odd, but okay. And then I said, actually, I have in mind like where I want to go. So I showed you this yoga retreat and like, you were like, okay, I'll pay for it for you. And that was probably the first time that you'd done something like I had that big of ask because it had a price tag on it, right? And I remember how uncomfortable I felt even asking for that because of the price tag. And also how awkward it made me feel to say like, hey, for my birthday, I really want to go by myself on a vacation.
I want to go on a yoga retreat to Portugal.
And I really wanted to like, in my mind, like if I really think about it, I was like, I just want to sleep in and not get woken up for like as many days as possible. And I remember, this is the most ironic part, the first night of that or day of that retreat, which was absolutely amazing. I legit slept through all of the first classes. Do you remember I said that?
No, I don't remember.
So when we got there, obviously there was a time difference because it's Portugal. I slept through the whole first day of all of the like yoga classes that were part of the retreat.
So you just went you went on this expensive Portugal vacation just to sleep.
Yeah. And but that was only day one. Then I participated after that. But I think about how like reflecting on this right now is like it was really hard for me to be able to ask. But then as you've got more and more open to in what I call like investing in me and giving me what I needed, but sometimes I didn't know how to ask for, I've got more used to it, just like anything. And so now I don't feel as much guilt. Sometimes I still do, like if I'm being honest, about asking you for things like, hey, I need Saturday because I want to go take a dance class, or I want to sit and read a book without and actually finish my coffee without heating it up 4 times.
Do you want to know what changed my perspective on it? It was Garrett was talking about how, because he was resistant in spending money on vacations for his family for a long time.
I remember this. Yeah.
And so he would like bitch and complain and be like, fuck, like this, like I hate vacation, because he's just like type A, right? So he's like, I'm just going to sit on a beach and just go out of my mind. I don't like to sit still. And you know, I'm just going to try to have sex with you and you're going to shut me down. Yeah. Anyways. So, but what he discovered was once he was able to just detach, go on vacation, invest in his wife, invest in his family, he said like everything changed because of how he changed the frame on this money as a difference between spending it and investing it, because he's big on making sure that he's investing his money in his businesses and his whatever in his family. So the way that he positioned, he's like, well, when you think of a house, like real estate, like, you know, when you put money into it, what do you call that? Right?
An investment.
You call that an investment because you are increasing what?
The value of it.
The value of it. So if you're spending money on your family, you can be included, but on your wife or on your kids or as a family, it's literally putting that money in an investment that's going to return in spades, right? Whether that's in like memories and joy and connection and love and whatever experiences together. So that changed a lot for me because I was like, oh my God, that's a good way to put it. It's like, I'm not really like, I'm thinking about it wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. So your perspective changed on it. And then because your perspective changed on it and you were consistent, you were constantly like, it wasn't just like, hey, let's go on a date night. And the reason I want to go on a date night is because I want it to end in like this wild, crazy sex at the end, which you would totally take if I gave. But at the same time, there was always an expectation attached to it. And then you started it, like, just like you said, looking at it as an investment. And then I started to receive it more, right? Where I was like, oh, he wants to do this for me because he wants me to feel like I'm worth it. Or I started feeling
you're a priority.
That I was a priority. And that's where I was going with the prioritizing versus acceptance even, is like, it made me feel like you were prioritizing me because I felt like my whole life in a lot of our marriage, it was like I was always prioritizing you, your schedule, your career, your everything that you wanted, where I was not able to voice what I wanted because I was so concentrated on what it was you needed. And this was a pattern of mine in a lot of my relationships. So if men listening to that can really start to shift the idea, and it's not going to happen overnight. Like, you're not going to like do this one really luxurious vacation and it's going to totally like change how your wife's going to receive it. No, it's a consistent, just like anything, an investment that compounds over time. And if you look at it that way, then it will start to rebuild the opportunity for you to reestablish some of the emotional intimacy that I think that people have lost.
Yeah. There was one other thing that happened. I don't know if you remember the year, but there was one year where we decided to we were going to put our values down and we were going to put our goals on these like huge Post-it note things.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then I put my values down. I put my values down and like family was near the top, and you're like, is that really true? And you like challenged me on it, and I got really angry.
Yeah, you did.
Because I knew that it wasn't true. It was like, yeah, I mean, my family, like, it's really important to me, but I'm not backing up what I say that my value really is.
And that's where I challenged you on it too. I remember, I remember that really. I want to say that was probably Lily was probably about 2. That was like probably 2022.
You think it was that recent?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought that was like.
Yeah, because you listed them and like unconsciously, it was interesting because I knew when you listed them that your unconscious was showing what the real priority was. And yeah, I think you had our top 5 values and yours was like family at the bottom. And I remember being really uncomfortable, like even asking you, like, I don't think I asked it as, is that true? But I just.
Oh, yeah. So there was like top 5 and family was like 4 or 5 on it.
Yeah.
So I didn't put it at the top, but I didn't put them in any order necessarily, right? I didn't say like,
you didn't think you did.
Well, I didn't think I did.
But I thought.
So I didn't put the values down the way, like I didn't communicate it, like here's the order of importance of these values, but family was 4 or 5. And then that's when you got triggered.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, it's interesting that you remember that because I would have not have thought that you would remember that, but I do really remember that. And it was like, I think I challenged you on like, tell me what that meant. Right. Cause I was like, I don't doubt that you don't love your family, but at the same time, especially at that point where Lily was so young, I was feeling very alone in my parenting at the time. So I was not feeling prioritized. I remember I remember thinking about like, man, his work schedule is the same it's been for 12 years. Like, I thought it was going to be different. And like, but I didn't know at that point, like really, we weren't talking and communicating openly enough where I could like really voice that without your having a reaction that I could now, where you don't have the reaction like that. You're able to see it and work through it much differently now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think you've really focused on healing a lot of your reactivity, being in like responding instead of reacting. I think has made a huge difference. It's also made it easier for me to communicate with you because of it. On my side, I think that I've done a lot of work on figuring out like some of my idiosyncrasies. Why do I do those things? Why do I struggle so much to ask for what I want? Why do I struggle to receive when it's, being given to me? And some of those patterns and some of the ones that I think have served me to a point, but have not served us in our marriage, that we've started to like unravel, and rewire.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like, if that's probably where I would even close this is like, can you look at your marriage and just be really honest with yourself of what are some of the patterns that we have, meaning as individuals and as a couple, that just, they need some rework. They need a reset. They need some rewiring, which means you might have to take it back to the beginning, which is, and like one of our mentors says it, and like we've been working with this a lot lately, is like, he said that the first step is awareness or belonging is what he says. The second step is healing. And then after the healing happens, you get to move into the next part, which is creation, which is where I think we are now, in terms of creation.
Mostly.
Yeah. But I think there's still times when we go back and we're like, oh shit, this is still coming up for us to go back and do some work on. And we got to take that time to do so, both as individuals and again, as a couple. But can you look at your marriage and start to ask those questions of like, oh, is it time for me to start to, look at some of the patterns that have not formed overnight. They've been forming over time. And can I get to the root that I need to start to like rework?
Yeah. And like every marriage, there's going to be probably the same dynamic we had where it's like one side is like hyper focused on themselves and filling themselves up and ignoring the other person's needs. And then the other person is constantly trying to fill others' needs while ignoring their own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So can you identify like who that is and try to like get more balanced? Like you're never going to be totally balanced, but like me speaking as the guy who is like hyper focused on like the career and building and making sure that I stay fit and healthy, and making sure that I prioritize Kendra to make sure she has like time, and I'm buying like time for her and like freeing up space for you and making sure that you're filling your cup. Right. Because for me, I could get stuck in like producer mode because like that, I like that. Same with you. It's like, you like helping people. So you get stuck in this, like, oh, I'm just going to be like, what is it? Like just selfless. I'm just going to give to everybody else because it makes you feel good. But then in the end, you end up like resentful and hurting yourself.
Or it allows me to bypass my real feelings because I'm invested in someone else's.
Yeah. There's the light and the dark of everybody's personality. So, but that's why it's important to visit the dark and make sure that you're like.
Yeah. So to bring it back, like as part of your, like the last 30 days of your healing journey with your leg and ankle is, I think that it's for the most part, I've been pretty successful at making sure that from the get-go, I prioritize myself, even if it feels weird, which it still does. But sometimes it's short or small. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, not an hour. But it still counts. And it puts me in a better space for me to handle when other people are dysregulated around me, but I'm centered in myself.
It's a good place to drop the mic.
All right. And until next time.
What's your wrap up? We got to work on our wrap up.
I don't know. You're going to have to wrap it up though, because I have to go get our daughter.
Oh yeah, we got to go get Lily. She's going to be pissed.
She's going to be
All
mad.
Right. If Lily doesn't kill us, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening. See you.